hopping in and joining us. Give it a minute or two as people are coming from their previous sessions. Get going here.
Just give them about a minute.
Yep. Yeah, everyone's coming on in. Our numbers are, I'm watching them tick up here, which is great. People joining us from their previous sessions. We'll just give it another minute or so to allow folks to get where they need to be. I know some of the sessions are going right up to time, and then people are frantically like clicking to get over to the next session. So
been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can just give it 1 minute. But yeah, our numbers are still ticking up. It's exciting to have such a great crowd with us.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. 1 more minute here. Great to have such a well-attended session. Just one more couple seconds here. All right. Well, we are so excited and fortunate to have Szymon with us today from the Fred Hutch Cancer Center. Simon's going to be walking us through a unique workflow they created that's HIPAA compliant to support their Patient Family Fundraising program. So we're so thankful to have Szymon here presenting. If you're, just joining us and logging into the session, we'd love for you to drop in chat, where you're coming from, where you are in the world, what organization you're with. What your role is and what you're looking to get out to the session today. Also, Szymon's said he'd be willing to do a little bit of a Q&A at the end. So feel free to drop in your questions into chat or into the question module here. But we're really excited to kick it off. So yeah, without any further ado, Szymon, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session, and welcome. My name is Szymon Zaleski. I'm a Principal Solution Architect at Fred Hutch Cancer Center in Seattle. I'm part of the data and reporting team within Philanthropy Advancement Services. We've been a Blackbaud shop for over 20 years, working on a Google Razor's Edge prior to switching to RENXT about 5-6 years ago. We also use Luminate Online and TeamRaiser for our peer-to-peer platform. During this session, I would like to show you how we at Fred Hutch leverage various tools that Blackbaud made available to developers to integrate an external data with RENXT, expanding its functionality and allowing our users access information from different sources in one place, which is RENXT. So let's start with what the Sky add-ins are, or as we call them in here, the tiles. As Blackbaud states on their website, Sky add-ins allow developers to build complementary features that integrate deeply within the user interface of Blackbaud solutions. With add-ins, developers can use familiar web development technologies as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to augment out-of-the-box product areas with new functionality. Add-ins are implemented as web applications that run external to Blackbaud host application. So they can do almost anything that the websites can do inside the browser. At the runtime, the host application provides an isolated sandbox iframe that contains the add-in page and provides the context values needed to load the add-in. You can find all the information, including detailed step-by-step instructions, how to get started on Blackbaud's developer site. In fact, despite me being a software developer for 20 years, prior to taking on this project, I personally had no experience in creating web applications. But thanks to the documentation and resources on the Blackbaud website, I was able to create the solutions I will be talking about today. In 2022, Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, and UW Medicine Cancer Program joined forces to create Fred Hutch Cancer Center. This unique relationship allows for enhanced care coordination with one of the world's leading integrated health systems. As part of the fundraising effort, we, Philanthropy, were charged with creating a foundation for a Patient Family Fundraising program. It all started with a simple CSV file containing information about patients' encounters at the center's clinic for a previous day. We would receive patients' personal information, departments they visited, date and the time of visit, names of the healthcare providers who have facilitated the visit, and some additional no-contact flags that that are stored in the Epic system. Using Jump Scheduler, which right now you can probably do it through the Power Automate as well, but we've been using it for a long time, so it was easier for us to do it this way. So using Jump Schedule and simple PowerShell script, I've automated the importing the flat file into our data warehouse, and using a set of SQL queries, that file is being split into separate tables containing patients, visits, departments, and providers. So to summarize the technical requirements so far, we obviously need a patient data in a file. We need some kind of a data warehouse. In our case, it's a SQL server, and some kind of applications that will automate feeding that data into the data warehouse. So we're at the point where we have our data warehouse, store the patient information, and we have our philanthropy CRM, which is RENXT. How do we integrate the two? This is where the Sky add-ins come handy. Sky add-ins, when registered in the developer portal, require a specific extension point, which indicates where within the RENXT the add-ins will be displayed. Blackbaud, thank you, by the way, has been constantly expanding the range of places within RENXT, as well as the other products where add-ins can be injected. For our purpose, we are mostly using constituent dashboards and the homepage. Now, using add-in client service, you can obtain the context information about the specific constituent record currently being viewed, as well as the information about the user who is viewing that record. Now that we have the record ID, we can query the data warehouse. To securely access the information from the data warehouse, I added another transport layer. Using Node.js, I created a simple web service that my application would call, passing the contextual information about the system record and the identity token of the user accessing it. The web service then would check the identity token against the permissions, and if allowed, it would run a query on SQL Server using the record ID as a context. Once the query results are returned, the web service then translates them into JSON and sends the response back to the add-in. Upon receiving the response, the add-in would read the JSON, render the tile, and display it in the iframe within the RENXT. So going back to our requirements, on top of what we already said, we also need a designated virtual server that would host our web applications and the Node.js web service. We at Fred Hutch have a great working relationship with our center IT, who for additional security spun not one, but actually two virtual servers, one for the applications and one for the web services. As for the technologies used in the solution, to develop our web applications, we're using Angular, as suggested by Blackbaud. Then having freedom to go with whatever design we wanted, I actually decided to use Sky UX, which made it really easy to make the tiles look like they are native to RENXT. Sky UX components are very well documented on the website, including actual examples demonstrating their use. For me, who was learning to develop web apps pretty much on the fly, these were super helpful. And then I used the Node.js to build the web service for the communications with the data warehouse, and Sky API to have the web apps communicate with RENXT. It will be worth to mention here that at Fred Hutch, we are mostly using daily database backup available in RENXT. This allows us to work within the limits of the standard API subscription, because most of the data we are using, most of the data we need, is being pulled from the static copy of the database refreshed and installed daily in our data warehouse. So now that we know how the data travels between various elements in the system, let's talk about our patient family fundraising. As we are receiving the daily census, patient information automatically goes through a wealth screening. In addition to the tools available through Blackbaud, we also work closely with an outside company that allows us to automate screening processes. New patients are screened as they come. Additionally, existing prospects are rescreened every 6 months. For the patient family fundraising, we primarily look at the net worth, areas of prospects' philanthropic interest, and propensity to give model created specifically for us by the company that we work with. New patient prospects who have not been matched to existing donors in RENXT with a PTG score of 60 plus and at least 2 visits, as we are trying to avoid reaching out to patients who come just for one-time screening. And those who have a 10 million plus net worth are automatically added to RENXT using Sky API, and they are automatically assigned to prospect management and research for additional discovery. Let's talk about the tools created to expose all the data to our philanthropy, which means the tiles. Patient Family Fundraising Prospecting tile that you can see on the screen is available to prospect research team on the homepage of the RENXT. It is listing all identified prospects with estimated net worth over $1 million. Font style, identify prospect status. Bold indicates a potential match to an existing RENXT record. Green indicates existing gift officer relationship assignment. And then the cursive indicates a new prospect that was not matched to any RENXT record. Our prospect researchers can slice and dice the group by net worth, PTG score, qualification status, which is stored in the custom fields in RENXT, and then and applies only to the match records, of course. They can filter the list by existing RENXT records or filter out already those that are assigned. For those that are not matched to an existing record, there is an ability to add them to the system with a simple click of a button. So as you can see, there's a Add to NXT button, which clicking calls Sky API calls that will create the record in the system. Speaking of matching, we are currently matching patients to our RENXT records based on 3 different criteria. One of them is a name and zip code, then the email address in our system and used in Epic, and a Winful ID, as we also additionally screen our entire RENXT cohort through the same well screening company. Those potential matches are stored in the patient database as unconfirmed. When RENXT user who has access to the patient tiles, I will talk about the permissions in a bit. So when the user clicks on the confirm identity button, they can see patient personal information and the type of match that was made. This is only for the unconfirmed patients. Once the patients are confirmed, the tile looks differently and I can access different information. So when they look at the tile, they can check the information against what's already in RENXT on the constituent record and confirm it as a match or not a match. While generally matches are very accurate, there can be situations when a match can be created to a spouse or a next of kin in the same household or someone using the same email address. So the confirmation is an important part of the entire process. Once the patient is confirmed, user has access to patient's visit. The confirmation is already stored in the system. So next time they go to the record, they don't have to go through the confirmation process again. They have access to the patient's visit right away. Personal information is still visible in the tile. It can be moved to RENXT in case some of the information in the RENXT is inaccurate or missing. There's also an option of resetting the match in case the user confirming the match made an error and clicked the button accidentally. Visit provider and primary oncologist are linked to the RENXT records. We are trying to maintain as many providers as possible in our system, as they are an integral part of the Patient Family Fundraising program. Gift officers at Fred Hutch are assigned to specific adult oncology areas and work with the providers who know their patients to identify both possible prospects and patients who shouldn't be reached out to. When a gift officer opens providers records, they can see provider tiles. There are two of them. Visit provider is someone who is facilitating particular visit. So in some cases, it could be a nurse or a technician. Primary oncologist is a doctor who is with the patient throughout the course of the entire treatment, which is one of those. Which is one of the reasons why those two are looked at separately. Because through these tiles, user can have access to doctors, patients, care provider, and primary oncologist tiles are only visible to the gift officers assigned to them. The gift officers can filter the patient information based on their location, on their net worth. We utilize the same mechanisms used in prospecting tiles to add unmatched records to the RENXT or even request an assignment for patients who are matched. Using SkyUX and CSS, we also kept the same style to indicate patient status: matched, unmatched, assigned, matched through a relationship to constituent, etc. Now, speaking of relationships, they are everything. As a fundraisers, you know that cancer in the family or cancer with friends is still one of the main reasons for giving to cancer research. Our prospect research always highlights that the difference between the prospect's giving capacity and the prospect's networks, it's crucial. So even if someone doesn't have the capacity to give, people they know often do, and people that know often is going to be generous to do that, to reach out and become donors to support the cancer research. Here's another example of a tool that helps gift officer manage patients in their portfolio. The tile has two different modes depending on who is looking at it. I mentioned before that the current user can be recognized by the user identity token provided by the adding client. So PMR and admin users can see all the patients across all the portfolios and filter by specific gift officers, while gift officers see only their portfolio with no access to their patient. I utilize the UAG grid component here for easy sorting of the columns. You can see when was the last visit, if the person is confirmed or not. It is important to allow our users some ways to find new prospects. I've already mentioned PFF prospecting tile in the beginning of the presentation, which is available to prospect research team. There are two more tiles that are accessible to gift officers, where the gift officers can see the list of providers working in specific areas and see how many of their patients have notable worth. At this level, gift officers can't see any patient personal information, but if they, because of the HIPAA rules, but if they see a provider working in the area they're assigned to, who is seeing patients who have a capacity to give, they can request for this provider to be assigned to their portfolio, at which point they will also get access to the provider's patient information. This is designed this way for the security. And speaking of the security, the system is installed on two separate virtual servers, one for web applications and one for the web services. The application server is behind the firewall, not accessible from outside of the organization. So if someone is accessing RENXT from the outside, unless they're on VPN, they will not see the add-ins at all. Node.js web service is course enabled and only accepts local requests from the FHCRC domain. So only the tiles can actually reach out to it and pull the information from the data server, and the patient information is protected from the outside access. Web services are also validating Blackbaud's identity token and check it against the permissions stored in the data warehouse. So the others are only visible to permitted user. We have designed 7 different user access levels to see either entire tiles or only partial information. For example, annual giving engagement coordinators cannot see patient personal, they can see the patient personal information when they reach out to them, but they cannot see their visit info. Every access to the patient information is being logged both in data files and the data warehouse for review if necessary. Our patient family fundraising is just an example of a solution used for this specific program. We also use Sky add-ins for other purposes to integrate other external data all in one place in our RENXT. Users can see donors' recent allo communications, including information if the email was actually opened and read, see their planned giving surveys and emails, see donors' team raiser summary, and even the gift officer's scorecard, including progress on their annual metrics. The possibilities are actually endless. As long as the data is available in the data warehouse, it can be integrated with RENXT or any other Blackbaud products through the Sky add-ins with the use of the Sky UX that makes them look like they're actually part of the RENXT. This would be it for the slides. I'm not sure how much time we actually have left, but if we have time, I would like to show you what it looks like in the live system. Let me stop sharing the tiles and jump in here to share the home screen. So this is our live RENXT. I actually blacked out some of the information in the tiles, which is normally available to user. I added simply within the web apps a demo mode to the tiles to protect the patient information. But as you can see, I can go to prospecting tile. It reads the information. Takes a while because there are a lot of those patients. And you can actually see what I shown on the tile. So I can filter the information. I want to see anyone who has 20 million plus. I've scored certain PTG score, and the tiles automatically refresh. We want to look at only people who are not being looked at before, or only people who are in NXT. When I go to a patient tile, I added myself as a patient. You can see the patient encounters. So this is what I mentioned here before. So you can see I had an encounter with Lymphomachia neighborhood with a specific doctor. I can go to that doctor record and see who else this doctor is visiting. So because I can see at the doctor's record, I can actually see that he's a physician, nurse of other care provider. He's also a primary oncologist. So I can actually go to that doctor's record and see all the patients the doctor is seeing. I can filter them. I want to see only people he's seeing from Seattle. Easy, 34. I want to see only people who are already in the system. And I want to see anyone who has at least $10 million capacity. So this is how I can actually have access to all these patients in the system. All the other tiles let's go back to the home page. This is what I wanted to mention about the My Portfolio patient tile. So this is available to everyone because I'm actually registering as an admin. But if I want to register, if I want to see portfolio of only one person, it changes the look of the portfolio, which is pretty easy to do. To do it with using Sky UX, and then I can see, all the patients from that specific fundraiser and what their capacity, what their most recent visit, when was the most recent visit. Yes, absolutely. One second. That's probably because it opened a new tab, so I think that might have been why. So, like I mentioned, any gift office, this is the My Portfolio patient style where I can see anyone on the list as an admin, or if I go to to a specific fundraiser portfolio, I can actually see their specific portfolio. I can filter them by capacity, or like sort them by capacity, sort them by propensity to give score, and all that information. So the tiles look somewhat native, look like they're a part of the system. We designed them this way using, the Sky UX, using the fonts, using the components that are available to the developers. This is what our solution look like in a live system. That's probably it for the presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. The recording of the presentation will be available to everyone. And if anyone has any contact, please reach out to me through the community, Blackbaud community, or through my email. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, and I just launched the survey, so we'd love to. I know we've been getting a lot of love for this session, Szymon, in the chat. I'm getting pinged from colleagues on the side that say this session has just been one of the best ones of the whole week. So very exciting. Lots of impressive content here that's really valuable for our customers. So thank you so much for putting so much time and heart into this. I know we also had someone in the comments whose family has benefited from the work of Fred Hutch, so that was also really lovely to hear. So yeah, please fill out that survey if you're with us. To thank Szymon for all of this great work and provide feedback. And we'll stick around for another couple minutes. If anyone has questions, by all means, feel free to chime in with those. We have a minute left. Szymon, I'm curious, how much, what was the time frame over when you took on this work? Like, how much time are we talking about?
Of
this?
So we've been actually it didn't take, because of all the components and everything readily available. It actually didn't take that much time. I think the biggest challenge was creating the first tile, because I was not. I'm a programmer, but I'm more like my background is C# and stuff like that. So for me, learning Angular and learning how to develop the web applications was probably the biggest step. But it was just a couple of weeks to actually start, because everything is so well documented on the Blackbaud's website. Examples are out there, and just creating step by step the first add-in, the world, hello world add-in,
right,
and then starting incorporating the stuff with the Sky UX component. It was actually really easy to build that first tile, and then on that base starting to design all the other tiles that basically whenever I needed a new component, I would test it on the thing and put on the application. But it was really easy to get started thanks to all the tutorials and all how well documented SkyUX is.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I think our session's concluded, and I see a couple other questions here. It looks like we still have a couple folks with us. How much did you have to do from scratch in JavaScript?
Not a lot, actually. A lot of that information. So the same with the web service. If Stack Overflow is your best friend. There's a lot of applications. You can Google a lot of information, how people are doing already things, and reuse some of the codes. A lot of the libraries are readily available. We are using Tedious to connect to the database and call that information. I think a big part was making sure that the security of the system is important. Like, it was very important to us. So having those, like, I originally started with the one virtual server, but when we went through the security, through the IT security, they actually recommended having two of them, have them separately, and to add an extra layer. So we have the web service sitting on the one virtual server, and then we have applications sitting on the other, to add that extra layer of communication, extra layer of security, that we can block access from different servers to the specific information.
Yeah, very important. One other question, I don't know how easy this one is to answer, but what were all the SkyUX, Sky API, and Sky add-ins used?
Sky API we're using mostly, so we're using Constituent API mostly to add the constituents information, or to add new users, new constituent records. For SkyUX, pretty much whenever I need a new component, whether there are lists, because they're mostly going to be lists. So we started with the repeater. Then I started using AJGrid because of the fact that it's easier to filter information, or it's easier to sort the information. So that would be another one. As for the add-ins, so we use mostly the tile add-in. We also use a button, because I think for one of the two of the reports, we use as a page that's being displayed as a part of the system. So users actually can access Tableau report from within RENXT. So they don't have to go specifically to Tableau, but they can actually open RENXT and through the link go to Tableau report that shows our philanthropy, current state of our fundraising, and that stuff like that.
Well, that is so exciting. Thank you so much, Szymon. I know we're a little bit over time, but I hear you. I mean, BBCon's in your backyard, so people can hopefully find you there. And
yes, please. I'll be there. I'll be in Seattle at the BBCon. Please find me, reach out to me, talk to me. I'll be happy to share the knowledge and help you create something like that for your organization.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being in our developer community. This was wonderful, and I know really valuable to a lot of people. So thank you for all your time and heart behind this project. It's really exciting. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for being with us.